Hi everyone, my name is Logan Martin and this is my presentation on the Great Wall of China. Most people know of China's Great Wall. Built hundreds of years ago by the powerful Chinese emperors of ages past, it stands as one of the most impressive structures ever built by human hands. But why was it built and how well did it serve its intended purpose? Here we have a table of content showing what I'll be presenting today. We have 3 sections, one on the history of its construction, one on its impact on the world as a whole, and third on how it's like now, along with a section of fun facts at the end for those interested in learning a bit more. First off is construction, beginning in 220 BCE up to 1368 BCE. While the Great Wall is most well known for its masterfully crafted earthworks and towers, this was not what the wall was like at the start. The first parts of the Great Wall were created under the Emperor Qin Shi Huang, sometimes known as the First Emperor, due to founding one of the first unified Chinese states, who started the project of merging the many earthenworks border walls created during the Warring States period into one unified wall to help protect against invaders from the north. This wall was constructed mostly out of rough stone blocks and bricks. Next up, we have the Ming period from 1368 onward to about the 17th century. While the basis of the Great Wall continued from the early periods, construction/improvement of the wall did not escalate again until around 1368 CE. Under the Ming Dynasty, expansion of the wall again started to help defend against invasions of the Mongolian tribes, whom the Ming had failed to combat effectively. The Ming Wall was much more complex than the earlier ones constructed under the Qi and other early dynasties, using much more advanced masonry methods to make a stronger wall. Finally, we have the fate of the wall from the 17th century onward. With the coming of the 17th century and the fall of the Ming Dynasty, the Manchurian emperors of China incorporated Mongolia into the Chinese Empire, greatly diminishing the utility of the wall now that the Mongolian threat it was to protect China against no longer existed, and the fact that Chinese borders now extended well past the wall. With this extension of Chinese territory and decrease in strategic importance, construction of the wall mostly halted. Next, we have impacts. Here we have a short overview of the military service. Unfortunately, like much of the construction history of the Great Wall, the service history of the wall is also largely undocumented, but it still did do service in conflicts over the years, being used in many minor and major conflicts and skirmishes from the Mongols and other nomadic cultures to the north, as well as some invasions from the Manchuria region to the northeast in the later years of the Ming Dynasty. Other impacts, we have the Great Wall in the outside world. While the Great Wall may be a very well-known monument now, it wasn't always that way. Even with European and other explorers making their way to China all the way back into the 1200s and even before, the Great Wall was rarely, if ever, mentioned in their writings and accounts. Accounts of the wall and its existence didn't really start reaching the Western world until around the 16th century, with European explorers like Portuguese historian João de Barros making descriptions and mentions of it in their writings, with the wall slowly becoming a famed monument over time and its popularity skyrocketing after China's borders were first opened during the Opium Wars. Finally, let's look at it now, the state of repair. Where the wall is conventionally thought of as a series of sturdy and everlasting stone structures, this is simply not the case. The wall in the current day and age, with the exception of high tourism areas preserved or renovated by the Chinese government, has mostly disappeared due to disrepair, with more projected to do so in the future. Unfortunately, with the massive length and size of the wall, a project to keep it consistently repaired and preserved would be a ridiculously large undertaking and most likely infeasible. Let's also look at tourism. Perhaps the Great Wall's biggest claim to fame is its tourism. Since the opening of China's borders in the 19th century, the Great Wall has been a major point of tourism, with said popularity only increasing as the years have gone by. Having survived a plethora of civil wars, invasions, and other conflicts, the Great Wall still, mostly, stands, only making it more legendary. The Great Wall is a relatively major tourist attraction, with the Chinese government putting great effort into keeping the parts most visited by tourists, such as the sections near and around Beijing, in a good state of repair. Finally, we have my section of fun facts. For those of you interested in learning a bit more, here's a few. Number 1, the Great Wall is referred to as the Long Wall in direct translation from Chinese. Second of all, the Great Wall includes an estimated 10,051 separate sections, almost 30,000 different buildings, and around 3,000 other separate sections of fortifications, spanning over 13,000 miles or 21,000 kilometers. Another fact to note is despite being a common misconception, the Great Wall is not actually easily detectable from space with the human eye. Last of my fun facts here, the Great Wall did see usage during the Sino-Japanese conflict of World War II, seeing outnumbered Chinese troops hold off more than twice their number of Japanese troops for months, sometimes seeing fighting even hand-to-hand with swords. I hope that my presentation today has helped give you a much more comprehensive view of the Great Wall of China and its history.